I was over in Asia. I think I was in Korea, and an elderly woman who was working in the hotel that I was staying in had seen me for a week, and basically, I guess she was observing my interactions with people, and she, through a translator, said, "I know your secret." And I said, "My secret?" She said, "I know your secret why you are so young." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Your inside is reflected on your outside."
You know, you don't really know who you are or what you are until you put a really big challenge in front of you.
Fear is an asset and ally here to help you be magnificent.
This crazy, silly, stupid idea to run across the Sahara Desert.
You did make it this time, but you said if you didn't make it, you would try again and again.
Everybody's connected to nature, connected to music, to their families, and now we're going to build a world that doesn't have racism and war and starving kids.
I kept telling myself, run at me, and just keep smiling. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Gene, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for making time today.
Sure, no worries. What's going on?
I'm good. I'm just walking in New York City. Where are you?
In Portland.
Nice.
Portland, Oregon, yeah.
How is it out there?
It's fine. Everything's good. Everybody's doing the social distance thing, and yeah, it's all good. No worries at all.
Nice. So I'm actually recording now, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's jump into it. First of all, I mean, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I mentioned in my email that I think you and I met a number of years ago at one of Zeev Klein's conferences, and I've been a big fan of yours ever since, man. You got such an incredible energy, and whenever you pop up in my LinkedIn or whatever, it makes my day. And I've been listening to your podcast. Your podcast has been like the best thing for me over the last 2 months or whatever since it came out.
Oh, thank you.
Crazy time, and it's just like a bright spot in my day whenever it comes out.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. And it's so funny. We recorded it just before everything started to go sideways, and then I was on the road, came back March 6th, come back March 8th. Everything's changed in the state of Oregon, right? They shut everything down.
Yeah.
And my production team, I said, hey, I think we should, because we were thinking about dropping it like in the summer or something. And I said, we should probably do that now because people they ain't got nowhere to go and nowhere to be, and they're going to need stuff. And they're like, okay, let's do it. So we've been doing all the posts and stuff each week, and
it's great.
It's been fun. Yeah. So it's been fun. And I do all the social on it. And, my production team taught me what to do. And they're like, you're like your own little agency now too. Like you're your own little creative agency with your project.
You're doing a great job, man. I mean, you got the video that goes along with it, but I love that just like little 2, 3, 4, 5 minute little stories, man. It just like picks me up every time. I love it. So much wisdom in there. You can like really get a picture of what it is that you're describing. It's great.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm glad, Gene. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you so much.
I kind of want to just ask you to like tell all the stories here.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, and I'll drop one. I'll drop another one this evening. I'll give you the sneak when we're done. I'll send it to you early. Okay. But I'll drop like the unexpected wisdom. Some of them have unexpected wisdom, so I'm actually going to share an unexpected wisdom off of this one that I just dropped, episode 12. So it'll
can
be
you
cool.
Tell? Can you share it here and then?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This will probably come out a little bit after that, and then our members will go over to your podcast and check it out.
Yeah. So the unexpected wisdom. So episode 12 is when I leave the Sixers and end up going to Nike. Yeah. And so, which was an unexpected moment in my journey. And so the person who was the catalyst for that, his name is Peter Ruppe. He's a longtime footwear executive with a lot of different companies. He was at Nike for 20 plus years, Under Armour. Now he's at Columbia running the footwear division there. He's like a senior vice president or something there. Peter and I have been cool since 95. He was the one who saw, before I saw, my gift, my talent to be in that world. I thought that I had arrived because I'm the head athletic trainer for the 76ers.
Exactly. Just little,
I love that. Some New York
cars going
sound.
by
That's
and you
good.
think
You need to have some ambient sound from the city. That's good. That's good.
That's
So-
what I like to do. Oh, wow. There's a lot of cops going on right now. I wonder what's going on. This is the most commotion we've had in New York
Oh, wow.
in a long time.
They probably
But
know
yeah.
I'm getting ready to drop this unexpected wisdom. They're like, let me get on that. Let me be violent. Yeah. So Peter was always this really amazing sage for me with great insights just about the business side of sports, life, whatever. And so we've stayed close for 25 years now. And when I was getting ready to start my job at Nike, Peter said to me, he said, listen, when you enter your first meeting, and in fact, the first 60 to 90 days, listen more than you speak.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen more than you speak. He said, you'll take in more information, and also people will respect that you don't have all the answers. And when they ask you for something, yeah, you can drop a pearl or an insight, but he said, but don't come into the room flexing, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that to heart. And the first 60, 90 days at Nike, I just listened more than I spoke. And it created this foundation for me that I didn't have an agenda. My agenda is helping you shine. If you shine, I shine. And people really understood that about me really quickly because I wasn't flexing every meeting I was going into thinking I have all the answers because I had never been in a business setting for sports. I had always been in the locker room or in game day stuff, but never on the business side. So I really didn't know. What is that? You only know what you don't know kind of thing, right? Paraphrasing that. So that was my attitude. And being that blank canvas, that tabula rasa, going in there just open and curious served me well. And it allowed me to ultimately at Nike to be known, as Phil Knight said, I might be CEO and chairman, Kevin. He said, but you're the mayor here. You're the mayor of Nike.
The mayor
And so I think that foundation was set in that first 60 to 90 days of listening more than speaking out.
Wow. The mayor of Nike. That's pretty cool. And what a time to be the mayor of Nike too, right? You said you went there in 95?
97 to 2004.
So did you just watch the whole Last Dance thing with Jordan?
Oh, yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
like the same time, right? Like what a time to be the mayor of Nike.
Yeah, well, you know, the other crazy thing is I was on the bench the night Iverson crossed Jordan. I was with the Sixers then.
Huh.
And that was right. Iverson's rookie year.
Wow.
And wait, we could take it even further. I took care of Kobe Bryant all through high school, all his sports medicine needs.
Oh, that's right.
He was his first strength coach because I'm from Philly and I knew his father. And so that one episode, that one episode in The Last Dance where they basically dedicated to Kobe.
Right.
That was really, wonderful. But, the other thing that's crazy is I got to work with Michael Jordan as the owner of the Hornets / Bobcats.
What?
So I worked with them on their organizational culture and the leadership team.
Huh. That is so cool.
I got to be around him in a lot of different, moments.
Wow. What did you pick up from him? I feel like is there like an episode coming that's got like a story, like a cataglyph from what you learned from that?
Nah, I end the cataglyphs when I leave Nike and stuff. When Phil Knight gives me his blessing and I leave from Nike in 2004. So that's actually that. And then I did a special little episode for Kobe. I actually have a special little poem that I read for Kobe and our relationship that goes back to when he was only 13. That's when I met him. So yeah. But I think what's interesting about that time where I got to work with, the leadership team that was, under the ownership of Michael with the Hornets / Bobcats, what I discovered about him was the same as how he was as a player, because I knew his coach, Tim Grover, his performance coach. He and I are friends. So a lot of those people I was watching on that who were the support team for him, I had met them or spent time with them. So I know one thing about him from those meetings that I had with him is that he's a forever curious human being. He has this voracious curiosity to raise his game in whatever thing he might be invested in.
Right.
And so now he's an owner, but he has the same appetite to get better. How can I make my organization better? How can I make the team better? How can my leadership team be better? How can our culture be better? So he always has had that that sense of importance, right, that I have to be that way.
I feel like just listening to your podcast and the other things I've heard from you through the years, you're an ever curious human being as well.
Oh yeah, there's that absolutely that. Yeah, Albert Einstein, right? I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious, right? So, which I think is a crazy oxymoron statement from Albert Einstein, right? I have no special talents. Yeah, right. Yeah, you do. But the fact that he says I'm only passionately curious, I can say that with sincerity. I am passionately curious every day.
I love that. I'm trying to cultivate that in myself. I think that's a really good quality to have.
So you know the way. So I don't know, if you have a niece or nephew, your own children.
Yeah, I got
that's the way. That's where you discover it.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be your teacher. You can learn from them because everything is new for them. What they say, they get a first every day up to like you're 7 or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
So there's discovery every day for them. So what we need to do is start looking at it through the eyes of a child again, eyes of wonder, eyes of possibility, that magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that you write a lot about that and talk a lot about play. You know, my son is 3.5 years old. It's really amazing to see how much he learns every day, especially now that he's doing homeschool. I mean, my wife mostly has that on her plate. But this morning I actually did homeschool with him, and it's just amazing to see how much he's just soaking in. He gets so curious about things. Like he knows more about outer space and the planets than I ever knew. He could tell you what every planet's made of, even like the dwarf planets that I never heard of. And it's just so crazy. Good. And he's so curious.
You should ask him. You should ask him why. Like, why are you so curious about that? Because it's always great to get the backstory. Like, why? Because there'll be a moment. There'll be a reason why. Don't you remember, Dad, when we saw the such and such? Or don't you remember when Mommy shared me this? Or don't you remember when Grandpa, Grandma, whatever? But there's something that sparked that.
There must be. I mean, it's incredible. Like he'll just ask, like if something comes up and we'll say something, he'll say, can you show me a picture of that? Or can you show me a video of that? And like, we break out the iPhone and show him a picture, and he just gets so into it. Volcanoes,
and you know what he's doing? He's literally putting content on his hard drive, his brain.
Yeah.
That's really why he's asking for more. I want to put more on my hard drive. So give me more.
And listening to your cataglyphs, I've gotten a glimpse into how you did that through so many of these different episodes in your life and the different people that you sought out to learn from. And, can you maybe share a little bit about, kind of your story and like how you were doing that? Just like kind of the overview of what I've been able to pick up from cataglyphs without going into like the specifics.
Yeah, listen to the whole podcast. Well, it was out of necessity that I had to build community and find a way to belong and to connect with others because I didn't have a traditional family setting, right? Both my parents were addicts and they abandoned us, and my grandparents rescued us and basically raised us as best they could. And so I had to build community from a very early age. So I was always seeking those insights, that knowledge, that wisdom from other individuals that I would be getting from my parents.
How old were you when that happened?
Oh, I was 6. My dad actually left when I was 3. So he was gone from the time I was 3, and my mom left when I was 6. So you can think about that in terms of your son.
I can't even imagine. I honestly cannot imagine.
So you figure out very quickly as a child, because we're super resourceful and resilient as children. They are, right? Children are, we are, right? And so I figured out, well, I got to find it somewhere. So let me find places where I feel like I belong. So the playground in the neighborhood was the first place. And there was an eclectic, crazy group of people who went through that playground every single day. And I always talk about there were drug dealers and users and war veterans and workers, right? They were, I affectionately called the positive deviants in our neighborhood, right? They had good intentions, but they were always up to something too, right? They always had the hookup or something going on. But these were all people I learned from. And they all taught me amazing lessons. And then probably the most important person in my life was Miss Lane, my best friend's mom, who became what I call my CEO, my chief encouragement officer of my dreams. So Miss Lane gave me permission to dream big with 2 words: why not? And so I would come to their house. I was just talking to Miss Lane's daughter, Melanie. Miss Lane passed away 6 years ago, like 83 years old. Mr. Lane is still alive. He'll be 90 coming up in July. But Melanie and I are like brother and sister. We've known each other since I was 9. So we've known each other over 50 years, which is crazy when we talk about it, like the 2 of us. And I was just talking to her earlier today, and she's in the house because she's been helping out her dad who had a stroke. So that house is where I used to go every day as a child. And wait, I'll show you this, because this is one of the episodes. I still have the key. I still have a key to their home since I was 10.
Is this the peanut butter jelly house?
Yes, that's the PB&J house, dude. That's it. Well done, G. Yes. Well done. That's the PB&J house. So that's awesome. That's where I really learned all my life lessons, was from her. And that's what really was the catalyst for me, right? So when you ask that question, you know, how did you get to this place? Miss Lane was a school teacher for 32 years in Philadelphia Public Schools. So she was my life teacher. So, of course, she approached me like an educator. She poured into me every single day. If I didn't know, if I asked her a question, she would always tell me, look it up. So we had encyclopedias back in the day, dude. So I had to look it up in an encyclopedia. I wasn't Googling it, right? I wasn't using some search engine. I was actually pulling a book out, looking, or we would go to the public library. So she really fueled my curiosity and my love of learning. And when I realized that that could take me places, I just leaned into that. But guess what? In my neighborhood, it wasn't cool to be smart. You were corny, right? You were a nerd, right? You trying to be something that we're not in this neighborhood. And so I had to learn how to shapeshift very early, be one thing in this group, be one thing in that group, be another thing over in this group, just to be able to navigate my day. But I didn't want to not learn. I didn't want to succumb to what the neighborhood said was my destiny, to be a laborer. And so
were you aware of that?
Oh,
was
very.
Was that a conscious thought in your mind?
Very aware. Oh, they let you know. People would tell you every day, look what you come from. This is your destiny right here. You're going to be on the trash truck. You're going to be cutting the grass for the township. That's what you're going to be doing. That's what we do in this neighborhood. So don't think you're better. And Miss Lane was the one who said, you can be better than that. And she encouraged me. And she grew up in the neighborhood, G. So how crazy is that? She said they said the same thing to me. They said the same thing to me. And she had to buck the system.
When you look back, like, how many of your friends that you grew up with were able to buck the system, and how many of them weren't?
Guess what?
What?
I'm the only boy. Of my friends. They're either passed away, incarcerated still, or working as a laborer. Now, the girls in the neighborhood all went on to do amazing things. But the boys, for the most part, surrendered. Both my brothers did exceptionally well. They're both doing really well. My older brother, Donnie's retired Navy, 22 years, lives in Mobile, Alabama, works in nursing. My younger brother, Kyle's an IT specialist in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But for my friends, for the most part, my close group,
wow.
They basically, you know, surrendered and succumbed to what was going on in the neighborhood.
Even the friend who you had the fight with for the peanut butter and jelly?
Norman got killed in a car accident, 26 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
That was Miss Lane's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got killed in a car accident with one of my other really good friends. And I came back. I was in the Air Force then. I came back to support Miss Lane and Mr. Lane and Melanie. And that's when I said to Miss Lane, you know, don't worry, I'm going to make you proud. And she said, you're our son now. So that from that point on, Miss Lane and I, she was included in every single, you know, wonderful moment, accomplishment, success of my life. I always made sure she was a part of that and honored and valued around that.
I was taking that in for a second. But one of the other things that I was picking up from your podcast is that you weren't just taking in the wisdom from people like Miss Lane. You were even taking in the wisdom from some of the less savory characters on the playground.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The positive deviants and all the, you know, the fathers of, you know, my friends, all those guys, they all had stuff to teach you what not to do. Why are you hanging out with those kids? That's what a lot of times they would say. Why are you hanging out with those kids? They ain't about anything. You need to be, aren't you supposed to be somewhere? They saw something in me when I was young. And so that was also something now I can reflect back on it having some years now. Like, wow, they saw it before I did. Similar to Peter Ruppe, right? The guy from Nike. He saw it before I did.
There are like a couple wrap-ups.
So how did you go? I mean, obviously they cultivated that in you. You went to college. And I found this to be interesting too, that you played soccer in college, right? Like, but throughout the whole time of you telling your story, I didn't hear you mention soccer until you got to college. All I heard was like basketball. You break into the school to play basketball, play basketball on the playground. And then all of a sudden, there's like, I went to college and played soccer. How did that?
So listen, so here's the crazy thing, right? I didn't realize I was vertically challenged, right? I didn't know that that was an issue, right? I thought I was going to defy the odds and I was going to make it to the league somehow. Of course, I ended up making it to the league, not because of my physical prowess, because of my intellect, right? And my love of sport. But I played basketball the whole time. I played soccer just to get in shape for basketball season. I didn't start playing soccer until 10th grade in high school. And the only reason that I played soccer was I had gotten 3 concussions playing football. And on my 3rd concussion, the soccer coach from the high school was standing over me. Literally, he goes, you might want to consider a new sport. How about you come out for soccer? And I remember,
come take some headers for soccer.
Yeah, and I look at Coach Kaiser, and I'm like, I ain't going to play soccer for it, dude. He goes, speed kills, and you have speed. He said, I can get you to college. And I ignored him for a while. And then I said, well, wait, I can get in shape for basketball. So I signed up. And then I end up, you know, having a good high school career, end up going to college and play soccer. But basketball was always my thing. Basketball and football were my first 2 loves. I did not play soccer until I was in high school.
And then how did that lead to the Air Force?
So I fell in love with soccer once I got to college because I met a bunch of just soccer heads from Jersey who came to the college that I went to. And so I fell in love with it because of their love for it. And we used to watch this program called Soccer Made in Germany. And it used to come on PBS every Saturday. And so we watched these games from Germany. I'm like, and we all would fantasize about one day I'm going to play in Germany. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play in Germany. And so my then girlfriend has my first son, right? We're not married or anything yet. I'm a junior in college. And I remember my grandfather saying, you need to make sure you do right by your son. And I remember taking that to heart because he then followed up with, you're not going to repeat history and be your dad. And so I really took that to heart. And I left college to provide. I go and I leave college my junior year, get a job back in Philly, working at a toy store, right, and providing for my family. But I realized something very quickly after like a month or 2 being back home. I was falling into the pattern of the neighborhood. Drinking, getting high, hanging out, and working. Repeat. Drinking, getting high, hanging out, working, repeat. And I'm like, wait, I was just in college taking AP English classes. this isn't me. And so literally I didn't tell anyone, Gene. I got up on a Monday morning, took the trolley down to the military recruiting station in Philly, walked past every branch till I got to the Air Force. And I said, I need to get out of here. And what's the easiest way for me to go? And the first thing they said, you're not in trouble. I said, nope, I'm not in any trouble. I just need to go. Because I could see what was happening. And that's how I ended up in the Air Force. And once I got in the Air Force, it's so funny. I said, wait, could I get to Germany and play soccer? and so I started gaming the Air Force to get to Germany. And I did. I ended up getting to Germany and playing soccer over there for 3 years.
What? I didn't catch that. Really?
Yes.
In like a professional league?
Well, I played Christ League. I didn't get paid for games, but they took care of our, gas money, our boots,
Crazy.
Cleaned our boots. I was playing for a German team. It was cool. And I played for the Air Force team also. So yeah.
That's so cool, man.
And that's how I got into sports medicine. I was a striker. Glory boy. I was all about the glory. I was an opportunist.
I grew up playing soccer. I was not very good, but my claim to soccer fame is that my high school goalie for 4 years was Tim Howard.
Oh, wow.
I always joke that he was such a good goalie because I was such a bad defender, but that's not even true because I was riding the bench.
So now are you from Jersey then?
Yeah, I'm from Jersey, so I get the Jersey soccer thing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing, another connect the dots for you. So you were what years were you at the Sixers?
95 to 97.
So the 76ers was my favorite basketball team growing up through then. And because you probably know Hersey Hawkins.
Absolutely, I know Hersey.
Yeah. And because he went to Bradley and my parents went to Bradley, and he's like the only professional. Him and Kirby Puckett are the only professional sports players that come out of Bradley when I was growing up. So I just loved the 76ers. And I'm the only person in the world that was a Hersey Hawkins fan.
So listen, so here's another little small fact. Hersey Hawkins is with the Blazers now.
Really?
He's on the Blazers staff. Yes. I've actually seen him at games. I have a friend who's one of the performance coaches there, and Hersey remembered me from St. Joe's.
Well, you got to tell him. You got to.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him. You got a fanboy in New York.
Yeah, I have a pair of shoes that he signed hanging up in my bedroom at home.
Wow.
My bedroom hasn't changed. My parents haven't changed my bedroom since I moved out in 97. But I got the Hersey Hawkins sneakers hanging up in my bedroom.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, and so I was there with Mo Cheeks. He was he was a coach. Yeah, with the Sixers. I was there Jerry Stackhouse's rookie year, Allen Iverson's rookie year.
Wow. So you went to the Air Force. And you were an interpreter and a translator in the Air Force, which I found to be very interesting because you said before that you had no aptitude for language.
I thought I didn't, right? But I did, right? I dropped Spanish after 5 minutes in high school because I thought it was silly, right? But Gene, listen, I've never forgotten that 5 minutes.
Croatian, right?
Yeah, right? Serbian? I still remember the Spanish for the 5 minutes that I was in there. Es Susana en casa, no en la cocina. ¿Dónde está la sala? No en la cocina. And I walked out of class. So I had an aptitude, right? I was just a knucklehead. And so when I go in the military and they test you to see if you might have some, hidden talent, and they identified I had a hidden talent for languages, and I literally said, I don't think so, because I dropped Spanish in high school. They said, well, you passed this test. We're sending you to Monterey. And then they said, we're going to give you this language. I said, what is Serbo-Croatian? What is that? So I called Miss Lane to ask her, what is that? She said, oh, well, that's the language of Yugoslavia. What am I going to do with that? A black guy from Philly. What am I going to do with that language? So I end up learning Serbian, Croatian, Czech. And then, of course, when I was in Germany, I learned some German. I can read Russian because we learned the Cyrillic alphabet. And, yeah.
That's crazy. My favorite, I remember this from when I was in college. Do you remember the fake newspaper, The Onion?
Oh, absolutely.
There was an article in The Onion that was United States to send vowels to Serbia because it was like, like none of the words have like any vowels in it. It was like my favorite like Onion headline of all time. Or maybe it was a Bosnia or Serbia or like one of those countries.
That's good. That's good.
So like that's a hard. You go from Spanish that you don't do in 5 minutes to Serbian and Croatian. That's a major level up.
Yeah, and Czech. Yeah, so those were my 3 languages. I went to Monterey, in California, the Presidio, which is the language school, which is really, super immersive when you go there, and 47 weeks, no English is spoken, 12 hours a day, and you'll learn a language. You absolutely will. And so I, really found a talent there, but I didn't know that it would actually come in handy, once I got to the Sixers and I end up meeting Vlade Divac and have our little altercations in Serbian. So yeah, at the request of my coach, so I started insulting a 7-foot-tall basketball player, right, in their native language in the middle of an NBA game. So that was pretty funny. But that also created NBA Inside Stuff did a special about me. I end up, people at Nike saw that along with Peter Ruppe and Howard White. And all those things were factors that led me to go into Nike.
So let's jump in there. What did you're the creative catalyst at Nike, the mayor of Nike. What does that even mean?
So as the creative the mayor of Nike was my subtitle by Phil, right? But my actual title was, creative catalyst. So I was, a catalyst is an excitatory agent that speeds up or changes a process. My idea of that was I'm going to help others turn ideas into reality. I'm going to be the spark, but I'm also going to be a bridge builder. So I basically behaved like an internal consultant within the organization, and I got directives from leaders, and they would basically say, Kevin, this area needs a spark. This area needs a spark. Hey, we need you to go over to this area. And so that's what I would do, for a certain period of time. They might have me working for 90 days, half a year, for a year, whatever it might be. But my home there for 4 of the 7 years was with the special projects team with Tinker Hatfield. And Tinker Hatfield, if there's any sneakerheads out there, you'll know that name because Tinker designed basically every Jordan except for the first 2, or had a hand in most of those Jordans that you saw Michael wearing. And
he also designed the shoes for Back to the Future.
Yes, and he was involved with, so many projects. He's on Abstract. If anybody's seen the Abstract series on Netflix, he's in the first season.
Very cool. So, but wait, I guess I'm missing, you're a trainer for the 76ers, right?
Yes.
And Nike's like, come here and be a creative catalyst, be the spark for our, the biggest, most creative, shoe brand, brands in the world. How does that happen? What do you?
So that
episode, I heard about the speech. I heard the episode where you gave the speech on stage and you put whatever, but you go from being a trainer to being a creative catalyst.
And that's Peter Ruppe, who I mentioned earlier in our conversation. So Peter saw this in me. So Peter was the one who, when I was with the Sixers, they basically contracted me to be a consultant to help designers with their ideas. And so they would fly designers to Philly and they would spend a day with me. And I would take them through an experience. Let's say I would basically take them through a workout that I would do with the players. Tape their ankles, do warm-ups, do drills, come back. And then what happened after one of the experiences, they said, hey, can we keep these tape jobs? I said, sure. So we cut them off really, carefully. They flew back to Portland with the tape jobs, and they designed the footwear based off of that tape job. And so Peter realized that I could give insights to designers, right, and be this catalyst for them, spark them around what athletes need. And so I was helping the design teams actually identify the athlete needs. What problem can we solve for an athlete to help them perform better in whatever their arena might be? And so that's where the catalyst came from, right? That whole idea of being a creative catalyst is that I was working with designers at the very beginning. Well, even before I came to Nike, for 2 years before I even came to Nike, I was working with designers.
I feel like you're kind of like Forrest Gump.
Yes. So
right?
friend of mine says I have a Gumpian life, right? He says, dude, you got a Gumpian life, right?
I feel like you're like Forrest Gump. Like you're like these situations like don't seem like they go together, but you've somehow managed through this like endless curiosity maybe to kind of be able to bring them. Like, did you see it in yourself when you're in the Air Force? Did you see yourself being a trainer for an NBA basketball team?
No.
And when you were at the NBA basketball team, did you see yourself being a creative catalyst for a brand like Nike?
No. Each of those roles. So when I was in the Air Force, and I got my degree in sports medicine, athletic training when I was in the Air Force, I wanted to actually go to the Air Force Academy and join their sports medicine team. I was doing armed forces sports. I was the only certified athletic trainer in any branch of the service. So a colonel or a general found out from the Pentagon. So I would get orders from the Pentagon to go to armed forces sports events and take care of all the athletes from different branches of the service. And so if you get orders from the Pentagon, your commander can't say no to those. So I'm flying around the world doing sports while I'm in the Air Force. I'm like, wow, I could stay in the Air Force, do my 20 years, be an athletic trainer. Oh, this is perfect. So I try to get stationed at the Air Force Academy, and my commander says, no, I can't let you go because you're in a critical field. You have a top secret clearance. You know these languages. I can't let you go. And I said, well, sir, I'm traveling the world doing what you all paid for. They paid for my degree. They knew I was going to get it in sports medicine. Why won't you let me re-enlist and go to the Air Force Academy? I'll stay for 10 more years. And he said, no, you're in a critical field. So I thought I was just going to stay in the Air Force. And then I realized, well, I want to do this athletic training thing. I'm going to leave the Air Force. So I leave the Air Force and move back to Philly. And that's where everything started. I worked at the high school level, the collegiate level, then the NBA. But that was never the goal. The goal was just to run my own training room at a high school because I thought that was prestigious to me. That's what I knew. That's what you do as an athletic trainer. You get your high school, you lock it down, you become Doc, right? Everybody calls you Doc. And you're cool with everybody, right? You watch kids grow up, you stay around, you see their kids come through, whatever. So that's what I thought.
Man, it's like the feather in Forrest Gump, man. Like you have this ability to like let the wind blow you and like make the most of all these situations. It's that like endless curiosity. How do you do anything to kind of practice or cultivate that curiosity in yourself now?
That's a great question. Absolutely, Gene. So I have a regular habit weekly that I spend one day where I look up more than I look at a screen. I look at the big screen called life, and I try to take in new things. When I walk through my neighborhood, you know, I don't have earbuds in or anything because I'm the old man best friend in my neighborhood. I know all the kids, right? Because we talk from their porches. The kids are curious, right? So they ask you, they say hi. So I end up having conversations with kids from their porches. And now over the years, I'm the old man best friend, right? They run to their door. Even during COVID, they bang on their windows and wave to me when they see me walk by. We've had conversations with my mask on, right? And they're on their porch. So I've been leaving little gifts for their families, right? Because I've been always really curious and connected to my community. And so I think me looking up and being very present when I walk in my neighborhood serves me very well in actively practicing being passionately curious. And I think that's what I've been actively practicing for decades.
You know, it's interesting you say that because like right now with the COVID, like one of the things that's really concerning me for my son is, you know, we live in a neighborhood. It's not like the neighborhood that you grew up in, but he goes to the playground every day. There's a playground right outside our apartment. And it's definitely not the playground that you had. But he can't do that now. Like all the experience, like we're the old, like it's kind of the reverse of what you had. He's, you know, fortunately he has both parents and we're both there for him. And but he doesn't have the other influences going on in his life. He doesn't have the old man best friend or the other kids in the playground to help him. or to,
but that's going to
give them these other
happen.
experiences.
But we know we're going to get to the other side of this, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. And I think as the parents, the Rents need to be thinking about how are we going to be, the instigators of that? How are we going to ensure that we make sure he has connections and has a community and has a sense of belonging beyond us, right? And you all can actually be game planning, if you will, right now, how that's going to happen. And you actually can be actively doing a bit of that via tech, right? So you can have FaceTime calls with family, friends, other individuals that you want your son to start to build a relationship with. I'm going to tell you an amazing story, right? And it really kind of plays nicely into this. So a young man I met, he's not a young man anymore. He's like 36 now. Jeremy, I met him, maybe 16 years ago. He's in college at University of Texas. Fast forward, he's now the Deputy Commissioner of Technology and Innovation for the state of New York. He works with Governor Cuomo.
That's cool.
Jeremy and I have become such great friends over all these years. I'm the godfather to his son, Marco.
Wow.
Wait, Marco and I have a crazy rapport. Jeremy says it's really amazing. Like, I've held Marco when he was an infant, when they lived in San Francisco. And Marco's an artist. Jeremy and his wife, Vanessa, both say, well, that's not us, but they've been nurturing it with him and encouraging him. So I've been seeing Marco and Jeremy shares pictures, and I said, hey, Jeremy, you think Marco would like to teach me art? I said, could we maybe set up a Zoom call and he could teach me art? Marco got so sparked with the idea that he was going to lead me, right, through art. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna show you what we've been doing. Our sessions. Hold on just a sec.
That's awesome.
Okay, so we have a regular session on Fridays, and Marco, he basically curates what we're going to do. He puts together the ideas, and he teaches me how to draw these things. He's so fearless. He's 7 years old. He is a fearless artist. It's just really amazing to watch. And so we've been doing art, and these are our sessions. These are so good. So no, they are, and Marco teaches me. So this is one of our projects. Wait, so it's a folding. Wait, so you fold it.
Oh,
but Marco taught me that.
So it's like, it looks like one, just for the people who are listening to it.
We've done a Pokemon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wait, we've done some Mo Willems stuff.
These are great.
Wait. And he teaches me. He says,
how old
okay,
is
Kevin,
he?
7. I say all that to say you can create that old man best friend with your son. You need to identify someone you'd like your son to spend time with like that. Because what Jeremy has said to me, after Marco and I have had our sessions, he said, he looks so forward to Fridays with you. And it's only 30 minutes. But what I started to discover was through COVID, we could actually find these creative sessions. And, creativity has really elevated through COVID.
Yes, it has, for sure.
It's been amazing to witness what's going on, right? The level of problem solving and ingenuity and innovation that's happening, right? I'm just so encouraged by everything that I've been witnessing, but even more so with Jeremy and Vanessa encouraging Marco to create his own relationship with me. We've always been cool, but now we have this, and this will be a memory for him from COVID.
Forever. Yeah. It's special. It is special. I've been thinking about that, and it's funny. There's a couple different ways I could kind of go off of that. you talk about your old man best friend. When I was growing up, I had a mentor who I was very fortunate to go to this really great summer camp. And the director his name was Bert, old man, best friend kind of guy. And one of the things that he would teach us is that it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. And I've been thinking about that. And it's kind of what, it's really kind of ringing, like everything that you're saying is kind of like ringing through to me. It's like this passionate curiosity, this endless curiosity to kind of, and now in this moment of COVID to like learn something new, to try something new, to be, innovative. That's really coming through to me.
And just being open, right? I think that's the key is we need to, so this is a thing I always say, we as human beings need to look at ourselves as the greatest app ever created. So if we look at each of us as an app, what are we always being asked to do on our devices? Update your apps. So why not look at yourself that way and always stay in beta as a human being? Always being updated, always improving, always finding a way to raise your game.
Always in beta. I love that. You're also making me think of last week I interviewed a woman named Kristin Omer. I'm not sure if you know her, but she used to be like for 12 years in a row, she was like the number one rated extreme female athlete in the world, big mountain skier, crazy. She wrote a book called The Art of Fear, and she talks a lot about fear and how we should have a relationship with our fear. And she said something like, I'm not going to paraphrase it well, but it was like, this is like a really sacred moment right now. And this is an opportunity. Like, what is the story that we're going to write for ourselves in this moment? If we let the fear get the best of us, we're going to miss it. And so to do the things that you're doing, like with Marco, like what a special thing. Like you've taken like the story that you're writing in this moment with him is incredible.
And I think that's like, we all have a choice, right? So all things being equal, everyone's dealing with loss, right? Everyone's dealing with loss. And I don't know if you're a Brené Brown fan or if you follow any of her work, but she's got an amazing podcast episode with this gentleman named David Kessler. And David Kessler is a protege of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who was the woman who came up with the 5 stages of grief. So when you look at this moment, everyone has dealt with loss and everyone has been grieving in some way because of that loss. So it's been collective, a global moment. Well, David Kessler got agreement from the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross Foundation to add a 6th stage to the stage of grief. And the 6th stage he proposes is finding meaning after loss. So now think about my Marco story and COVID. And what I chose to do was let's find something grander, something greater than the loss. So my meaning within this was my connection with him, but also just curiosity, right? And supporting others throughout this by doing what I do, what I think I'm called to do is share inspo, right? So that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I decided. And that's the way that I want to show up and the way that I want to face my fear, right? Because there is worry, concern, anxiety, all these things are real. You should be feeling that because there's change. We're losing things. But then once you do face that, how do you actually, similar to the woman you were speaking about, how do you actually use that jujitsu, right? And take the energy of that, right? And turn it into something else.
Right. So as a catalyst, I mean, in what all these experiences in your life have led to this moment. And
absolutely, yes.
How have you, for all of us, I feel like you're just this incredibly special case. Like you've got so much to share, so much, you define what a catalyst was before as like an agent for change. Are there specific types of innovation or specific ideas that you have that you're looking to catalyze now in this moment? Or like, where does your Forest Gump feather blow next? Like I feel like you've got something special cooking.
So, well, I don't necessarily have like a specific thing. I just have a sense of, things that I know that I want to be a part of or leaning into, and then wait and see. I've learned to get out the way. So I had an amazing counselor, Dr. Raymond Peterson. He was just brilliant. And he said, the faster you learn to get out of the way of your possibilities, the more flow can happen. But we get in the way of our possibilities and we interrupt flow. So I've learned to have an idea and then get out the way and let it be whatever it's going to be and be open to that versus it has to be this.
Mm-hmm.
So rigid that you actually limit the possibility. So during all of this pandemic and COVID and sharing cataglyphs and, you know, different things I've been doing around inspiration and just trying to be, you know, that person that rather than being a pessimist, being an optimist and helping people with that, there's a couple things I'm actually involved in right now that I'm really excited about where they may take me. So I'm actually enrolled in a University of Penn positive psychology program right now, where you get a certificate in positive psychology. And I'm just mesmerized and fascinated with the fact that all these things I've been actively practicing, there's science behind it. I've been innately doing it, but now I'm learning all the language behind it and the science. So it's fascinating to me. And what I want to do with this new knowledge, right, this new language, this new lexicon around what I've always done is I want to actually elevate my performance coaching offering, my services as a performance coach for people. Right? And so that's going to be this next thing I'm going to actually offer to people is how to coach people up, especially during this. Leaders are going to need this. Parents are going to need this. Lots of people are going to be looking for, well, how do I navigate this new normal, this brave new world that's coming? And the impact is going to be so great. School administrators, educators, all of them are going to have to navigate new. And I think what I'm going to be able to offer to them is this idea of how I've always lived my life, how I've consistently been this, but now I have the science behind it, the understanding and tools and resources. And then I just joined this Institute of Coaching out of Harvard McLean's hospital. I think I'm saying that right. Okay. Right. So it's affiliated with McLean Hospital of Harvard, but it's the Institute of Coaching. So it's a whole guild, a whole community of coaches who are involved in life coaching, well-being, performance coaching, organizational development, you know, executive leadership coaching. So I'm really excited to be joining forces with other like-minded people. So that's where the feather is going to blow, you know, some of my efforts and energy next. And I'm actively involved in that now and preparing myself. I'm getting ready to be ready for when it's ready, my man. That's what I'm doing right now. Right. So
I love it. You've given us a lot to think about for sure. I mean, you'll probably get a bunch of people from this podcast hitting you up for some coaching I don't doubt it. So before we sign off, I was poking around on your website. And you have the best testimonial of all time on your website from Paulo Coelho, who is, I think if you surveyed 1 million people, you said, what's your favorite book? Like the majority of the people, or like the greatest percentage of the people would say The Alchemist. Like,
absolutely.
At least in our community anyway. I think we've done that, you know, survey before. The Alchemist is always like the most popular favorite book listed. He said, when I met Kevin, I saw a man who manages to preserve the wisdom of his inner child. And I'm sure that has come through in this interview today to everyone out there listening. So I want to thank you for not only preserving that wisdom of your inner child, but for sharing it in your Katalyst podcast, sharing a little bit of it with us here today. And for being such a light to so many people, man. You're very special, and I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to chat with you.
Double G, I appreciate you, man. Listen, you know what's so funny? I'm all about alchemy, right? And so Paulo Coelho and I met from a Google alert that he would get because he was basically seeing who was gifting his book. And so he saw over several years, I was gifting that book at events. And so he had his assistant reach out to me out of the blue he was going to Davos World Economic Forum and was going to be meeting with some Nike executives. And he wanted to know if I knew any of them. I knew everyone he was going to meet with, and I gave him a dossier on each of them. And he said at the end of our phone call, if there's ever anything that I can do for you, just let me know. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to write my 3rd book. Could I come and interview you? He said, if you can be in Paris during this window, you will be my guest.
Wow.
Dude, I was Paulo Coelho's guest for a week in Paris.
Oh my.
We shot bow and arrow in his house. He has an archery way. Come on, man. That's another podcast. I can tell you.
That's another podcast. Can I book you for another podcast to share that one?
Yes, now you want to talk about leaving the teaser for the sequel.
There you go. For the sequel. Cliffhanger right there. That is amazing, man.
I appreciate
Oh, my God.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone out there, stay tuned for the next episode of Adventures with Kevin, shooting bows and arrows in in Paris.
Be well. Godspeed, brother.
You too, man. Every mile matters.
Okay,
Thank you.
Peace.